The notification sound on his phone was familiar, the same chime that announced dozens of business messages each day. But when Adrian Castellano glanced at the screen during his board meeting, he saw something that made him pause mid-sentence. Wrong number, I think, but I'm desperate. My baby is sick and I can't afford the medication. The pharmacy wants 340 and I only have 73. I know you said you couldn't help anymore. But Sarah is crying and burning up with fever. I'm begging you, please. Adrian stared at the message. His prepared speech about third-quarter projections forgotten. Around the conference table, 15 executives waited for him to continue, but his attention was entirely on those words. My baby is sick. Excuse me, Adrian said, standing abruptly. We'll reconvene in 20 minutes. He left the room to a chorus of confused murmurs and dialed the number that had sent the message. It rang 4 times before a woman's voice answered, breathless and stressed. Thank God, I didn't think you'd call back. I think you have the wrong number, Adrian interrupted gently. But I got your message. About your daughter. About the medication. There was a long silence then. Oh, God. Oh, no. I'm so sorry. I meant to text my ex. I'm so sorry. Please just delete that. I'm mortified. Wait, Adrian said quickly before she could hang up. Your baby is sick. You need medication. What pharmacy are you at? What? Which pharmacy? Adrian repeated, already grabbing his coat. I'm going to take care of it. You can't just... I don't even know you. I sent that message by mistake. I know, but your daughter is sick and you need help. That's all that matters. Which pharmacy? There was another pause, and Adrian could hear a baby crying in the background, a miserable, congested sound that tugged at something in his chest. Sullivan's Pharmacy on Maple Street, the woman finally said, her voice breaking. But I can't just accept money from a stranger. I shouldn't have even sent that text to my ex. I was desperate and not thinking clearly. What's your name? Adrian asked, already heading to the elevator. Emma Reyes. Emma, my name is Adrian. I'm going to call the pharmacy right now and take care of the prescription. And then, if you're willing, I'd like to bring by some things for your daughter. Food, diapers, whatever you need. No strings attached. Just one person helping another. Why would you do this? Emma asked, bewildered. Adrian thought about how to answer that as he stepped into the elevator. Because 10 years ago, I was a kid sleeping in my car with my mother. We were homeless for 8 months. And one night when I was sick, really sick, probably pneumonia, a stranger at a gas station gave my mom money for medicine in a motel room. He said the same thing I'm saying to you now. Just one person helping another. That stranger probably saved my life. I've been looking for ways to pay that forward ever since. Emma was crying now. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just give me half an hour. Adrian was 34 years old, with dark hair and the kind of polished appearance that came from years in boardrooms and investor meetings. He'd built Castellano Tech from nothing, a kid with a laptop and an idea, turning it into a company worth $200 million. He wore custom suits and drove a Tesla and lived in a penthouse that overlooked the city. But he'd never forgotten what it felt like to be hungry, to be scared, to watch his mother cry because she couldn't afford to keep him safe and healthy. And when opportunities arose to help others in similar situations, he never hesitated. 25 minutes later, Adrian stood outside a modest apartment building in a neighborhood he recognized as struggling but safe. He carried several bags from the pharmacy and the grocery store. Not just the prescribed medication, but children's pain reliever, a thermometer, Pedialyte, and formula, plus food for an adult who probably hadn't been eating while caring for a sick child. The woman who opened the door was in her late 20s, with long brown hair pulled back in a messy ponytail and exhaustion written across her face. She wore a brown cardigan over a simple dress, and there were what looked like spit-up stains on her shoulder. In her arms, she held a baby, maybe 6 months old, with red cheeks and glassy eyes, wearing a light blue onesie. Adrian? Emma asked, her eyes widening as she took in his appearance. His white button-down shirt and dress pants probably cost more than her monthly rent. Emma, hi. Adrian held up the bags. I got the prescription and some other things I thought might help. Can I come in? Emma stepped back, looking overwhelmed. Yes, of course. I'm sorry, the place is a mess. Sarah's been sick for 3 days and I've barely slept. The apartment was small but clean despite Emma's apology. There was a world map on the wall, old and slightly faded, and toys scattered across the floor. A playpen stood in one corner, and the couch looked like it had been converted into a makeshift bed with pillows and blankets. "Please, sit down," Emma said, gesturing to the couch. "Can I get you something to drink? Water? Coffee? I'm afraid that's all I have." "I'm fine, thank you." Adrian set the bags on the coffee table. "How's Sarah doing?" As if in answer, the baby started crying, a pitiful, congested sound. Emma immediately started bouncing her gently, making soothing noises. "She's miserable," Emma said, her own voice thick with tears. "She's had a fever for 3 days. I took her to the urgent care clinic yesterday. I had to put it on a credit card. I'm already maxed out on, and they said it's an ear infection. They prescribed antibiotics and fever reducer. But when I got to the pharmacy..." She trailed off, clearly embarrassed. "You didn't have enough to cover it," Adrian finished gently. "I understand. Medical care is expensive, even with insurance." "I don't have insurance," Emma admitted. "I lost my job 4 months ago. I was working as a graphic designer for a small marketing firm. But they went under. I've been doing freelance work, but it's not steady. And childcare is so expensive that sometimes I'm barely breaking even. Sarah's father, my ex, he was supposed to help. But he moved to another state and stopped answering my calls. I thought maybe if I texted him about Sarah being sick, he'd care enough to help, but I guess I typed the number wrong. And..." She laughed, but it was a broken sound. "And you got my desperate message instead." "I'm glad I did," Adrian said. "Here, let me show you what I got." He pulled out the prescription medication first, then the other items. Emma's eyes filled with tears when she saw how much he'd brought. "This is too much," she whispered. "I can't possibly accept all this." "Yes, you can," Adrian said firmly. "Emma, your daughter is sick. You're struggling. Let me help. That's all this is, help. No judgment, no strings. Just help." Emma sat down on the couch, still holding Sarah, and started crying in earnest. "I've been trying so hard to do this alone, to prove I could handle it, but I'm drowning. Every month it gets harder. I'm behind on rent. I've been eating 1 meal a day so I can afford formula. I sold most of my furniture, my laptop, everything I could sell. And it's still not enough. I keep thinking about what happens if we get evicted. Where would we go? I don't have family. Sarah's father is gone. I've been so scared." Adrian felt something crack in his chest. This could have been his mother decades ago. This could have been him and his mom, desperate and alone. "You're not alone anymore," he said quietly. "I'd like to help you, Emma, not just today, but ongoing. I want to make sure you and Sarah are okay." Emma looked up at him, her eyes red from crying. "Why? You don't even know me." "I sent you one wrong text message." "Maybe it wasn't wrong," Adrian said. "Maybe it was exactly right. Maybe the universe knew you needed help and put that message in front of someone who could provide it." "I don't believe in the universe doing things like that," Emma said. "Neither did I until about an hour ago," Adrian admitted. Over the next hour, Adrian learned more about Emma's situation. She'd gotten pregnant at 28, during what she'd thought was a serious relationship. When she'd told her boyfriend, he'd immediately ended things and made it clear he wanted nothing to do with the baby. Emma's parents had passed away years earlier in a car accident, and she had no siblings, no close family. She'd been managing on her own until the company she worked for collapsed, taking her steady income with it. "I'm not looking for a handout," Emma said firmly, even as she gave Sarah the prescribed medication with obvious relief. "I'm capable. I'm skilled. I just need a break, a chance, time to get back on my feet." "I believe you," Adrian said, "and I think I might be able to help with that too. My company is always looking for talented designers." "What's your background?" Emma's eyes widened. "Your company? What kind of company?" "Tech, software, apps, web development. Castellano Tech. Maybe you've heard of it?" Emma's jaw actually dropped. "Castellano Tech, you're Adrian Castellano." "Oh my God, I interviewed with your company 2 years ago for a senior designer position." Now it was Adrian's turn to be surprised. "You did?" "I didn't get the job. They said I was talented, but they went with someone with more experience." Emma laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. "I'm sitting here in my falling apart apartment, accepting charity from a stranger. And that stranger is a CEO I once interviewed with. This is surreal. Who did you interview with? Adrian asked. Marcus Chen. He was the creative director at the time. Marcus doesn't work for me anymore, Adrian said. He left 6 months ago to start his own firm. We have a new creative director now, Jennifer Park. She's excellent. And she's been looking for senior designers. If you're interested, I could arrange an interview. An interview I'd only be getting because you feel sorry for me, Emma said, and there was hurt in her voice. No, Adrian said firmly. An interview you'd be getting because you're qualified and we have an opening. What happens in that interview is entirely up to you and Jennifer. I won't interfere. I won't tell her about our connection. She'll evaluate you on your portfolio and your skills alone. Fair? Emma looked at him for a long moment, then down at Sarah, who was finally starting to settle, the medicine beginning to work. Fair, she finally said, but I need to be clear about something.